next, I guess, just I wasn't crazy about episode 2. You said you liked it more than me, correct?
Yes. Do you want me to explain why yet, or do you want to kind of go off? What are your feelings on it? Since you kind of said that you,
On episode 2 or
uh,
3, how do we want to approach this? Just talk about
well,
2 first?
yeah, I mean, so I'll just do a blanket statement. I don't love where the show is going, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say that it's still in the same kind of weird off direction I felt like was happening in the first episode. There's some things I have appreciated about what they're trying, but overall, I'm not a big fan.
Well,
So
kind of the
I will.
whole. Or sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we can focus still on episode and episode. I just kind of want to throw that out there, so
Yeah.
you knew going into it where I stood on this.
I'm a bit more open. I'm a bit more open with where they're going. Like, to be honest, like I don't mind them kind of venturing off and doing different things with the plot and certain things. I think more my sole main issue has been so far with Chief. Everything else, I'm okay with them rotating and trying different things, but definitely what they've done with Chief for me has been kind of eh.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess episode 2, just kind of what I had is that episode, in my opinion, kind of tackled with the idea of training versus programming, or thinking, or Chief thinking for himself, which is I don't know, something. Who said that to him? I don't even remember, because I watched episode 2. It feels like so long ago. Um, but
Talking
yeah.
about his buddy on the space station. Was it Soren? Was that his
Oh,
name?
Soren is the one that brought that up to him, which because I think that ended up leading into Soren was trying to get him to remove his. He has some sort of emotional
Yeah,
tracker, which
damn everything.
they delve deeper into in episode 3. Because I guess Soren removed that either before he fled or after he fled. I don't remember.
Right.
Gosh, all of a sudden my cough came back. But yeah, my big problem with episode 2 is like, and even into episode 3 is still like my biggest problem is Chief is still like helmetless throughout like 90% of these episodes. It's
Yeah.
for me, it clearly shows that the showrunners are just not confident that they can convey like any sort of emotion on Chief, without showing his face. Which it's like that. It just that was just such a staple with the games. It's like Chief's helmet is so iconic, but he's never wearing the helmet. I'm just like, for me, I'm like tired of seeing this guy's face. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think maybe my rationale is like touching base on kind of what you're saying, but it's maybe a little more focused in some areas. Like, so yes, I don't love that his helmet's off the whole time, and I feel like they're using that kind of stripping him down from that standpoint to make him seem more human, more relatable. But I think what's so weird and what I think made episode 2 work a little bit and had nothing to do with the fact that he didn't have a helmet on or any of that. I think the best way they could have humanized Chief and given him more of like some stakes and personality is just show how he interacts with people like Soren, his Spartan crew that he kind of grew up with, and the people around him, the other soldiers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually really liked how they gave that little bit of backstory with him and Soren, him letting him go but still being kind of very like much for the UNSC and all of that, and then kind of their back and forth and relationship on the
Mm-hmm.
space station. Like, I liked that. Here's the thing, though: they didn't need to have that helmetless. Like, I think that could have worked in the armor the entire time if he needed to. So I don't know. I feel like they're using that stripped down armor look just to make him more personable, when really they should be leaning into these character moments. Like, that's the best way to do it. Um,
Um, I guess
Go ahead.
no. I just want to throw in something I realized partly into episode 3 is like I realized like all of my least favorite sections are sections that involve the Quan character, and I was thinking while I was watching it, what exactly is her and her side plot bringing to the show? Like, can you think of like any positive? Like, it feels like she's just like a barrier. She's like a wall in between. Like, every time I see her, I get like I'm just like, I'm more interested in what's going on with the Halsey, the chief, and all of that UNSC stuff. And
Yeah,
then,
I'm not into her story.
well, like, what's the point though? Like, what is the point of her plot? Like, I could
I
care.
don't know. The only thing I can think of, because they tried really hard. That was a whole, kind of point in episode one was that Chief wanted to save this girl, so he's got some kind of emotional stake tied to this girl, and I have a feeling it's going to tie back to that at some point. He's going to find out she's in trouble, and he's going to have to come and rescue her, and it's going to be some big, humanizing character moment for Chief.
But
I
once
think
that's
that's
conveyed that he has emotions and is a person fighting with his programming, like, okay, then what's the point once you got that across that he's fighting amongst himself,
Oh, and there may not be a bigger point than that, which in and of itself is not terrible. I just think right now that's probably the least interesting part of where they're going with this. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if this is the right time you can kind of throw it in, because it might be a little off sidetrack a little bit. But I mean, I get there once again. They're humanizing Chief, and maybe her character is one facet of doing it. But I do not like the way they're taking Chief from like an emotional standpoint. Like, was it end of chapter 2? How he just gets straight up angry with that one guy, like slams him against the wall. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see Chief doing that. And I guess I'm trying to separate. Okay, this is not the Chief I know from the games. And I guess I keep holding out that, okay, he's going to build to that. Like, he's going to end up being that Chief at some point. And I don't think that's going to happen at this point. Like, I'm trying to understand even like where this story is taking place in the greater like timeline of the Halo canon. Like, it's clearly before the fall of Reach, but
I don't think they're
how
trying to fit it
long?
in the canon. I think they're
Well, they're going to go through and they're going to be pulling from all the different stories. Not sure they're trying to fit it into the canon, but they're going to lead through them finding the Halo and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like, I keep hoping that when they get to that point where like the games have caught up with this, that we'll start seeing some semblance of the Chief that we know from the games on the screen. And I'm seeing less and less of that happening. Because I feel like at this point, if there was even a chance of that happening and us getting that Chief, he should already be that Chief by now. It's some facet, and I think he's veering more and more away from that. I like the idea of him exploring the programming nature of what's going on, but I don't like how emotional they're letting him get. And maybe that's me not being open enough to it, but the Chief that I've seen and known throughout the games is not that he doesn't have emotion, but he doesn't get emotional, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't go off the handle, or he shows moments of frustration, but the way they made this guy act during parts, just how upset he gets and how like weird he gets and like behaves with some of the other actors, I'm like, that's not Chief. That's some guy. That's not Chief to me. I don't know. I'm still taking a hard issue with that.
I'm also kind of just going back to what we were saying about the helmet thing. I don't know if you saw my text from earlier, but I actually kind of did some digging, and apparently, I mean, the reasoning I'm guessing for why he's so helmetless is I ended up looking up this actor whose name is Pablo Schreiber. I actually didn't even know it, but I looked it up. He's actually Liev Schreiber's brother. I don't know if you know that actor.
Yeah.
He's his brother, and he apparently, it's in very early talks, but I think there's rumors that he's in talks to actually play the next Wolverine in the Marvel.
Oh man, I hope not. And not that I don't like this guy. Man, do you know why I would have an issue with that?
Why I mentioned why they might be happening is because his brother played what's his name?
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth, yeah, his brother played Sabretooth in a Wolverine movie. So I'm wondering if his brother's ties to Marvel are helping him, kind of get in good with Marvel. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I guess I'm kind of asking, like, oh man, I know I'm going to come across like, I don't know, all like comic book authoritarian here, but it's not that I don't mind them changing characters a little bit and like adapting. Like they've changed, like the Wolverine we have right now with Hugh Jackman is not the exact same Wolverine from the comics, and I'm okay with that. But there's always a few features or aspects about a character that I feel like should be there, and sometimes it is like a physicality thing or a certain
you can
look.
talk about height. Because
Yes.
this guy's
Yeah.
this guy's
This guy is
6'5".
huge.
This guy's
He's
6'5", and Wolverine's
giant.
supposed to be like 5'8" or 5'6".
Exactly, and like, and Hugh Jackman's not the shortest
I
guy.
thought you were
Like,
gonna go there too.
yeah, and that's what I was asking. Like, if you kind of read where I was going with this, I have no issue with the guy's acting. I think he's actually. Here's the thing: I don't like his chief. I don't think that's his fault, though. I think he is acting well.
He's a huge
and
guy. I was actually. Oh, sorry, cutting you off again. Go ahead.
No, you're right. He is a huge guy. Like, even when he like I was trying to compare him in the show, like when he
Yeah.
was out of his armor, and he was still a giant,
When he's
which is
walking
cool.
in episode 3, when he's walking amongst all the civilians, I was like, he must be wearing some huge shoes. And then I looked it up and it says 6'5", and I'm like, oh no, he's like legitimately taller than everyone else.
Which I think is actually one of the best casting like aspects of this decision that they could have made. Like Chief should be a giant. I mean,
Hmm.
he is in all the games. So
But
I
Wolverine
like.
should not be.
Yeah, that is so wrong for Wolverine. And I say I can argue him being not like super tiny. Like he could be like an average sized dude. Like Hugh Jackman. Like what is he like? Shy of 6 foot or right at 6 foot or
He's not
something?
a short guy, not a tall man. He's maybe like
Yeah, he's
5'10",
relatively
5'11", I think.
yeah, relatively average. He's not the, like 5'2" or something that Wolverine is, but that was okay. I could work with that. I cannot see this guy being Wolverine and fitting that at all. And
Hugh was such a perfect fit from the start. Even if he was 6'4", it would have been like, okay, this guy's Wolverine. You know what I mean? I just think he was.
I would have taken issue if he would have been 6'4". I said that to me, and maybe I am just being like, too by the book with the comics. I don't know, and I'm not even a huge comic guy, but
Come on, Bob.
there's here's the thing: there's always a few aspects to a character that
Yeah.
need to be there. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong. And if someone wants to argue me in the comments, I mean, I can certainly probably be persuaded, but I have just a strong inclination towards be like something like that. That is so just what's the word? It's like iconography about this guy. Like you think of Wolverine, and
He's
he's this
short.
tiny,
Yeah.
just angry guy. Um,
Are you saying he's overcompensating? You saying Wolverine's overcompensating for his height?
no, but either way, I know I'm going off on a
No.
side,
Yeah.
but that's why I wouldn't like him as Wolverine, and that's I know, and you might be right. Maybe that is why they're giving him so much face time. They're trying to test him out, like the waters a little bit to see if
Once
audiences
again,
like stuff like that.
I don't mean to be, theory man McGee, but once again, his brother has worked on a Marvel movie. His brother has ties to Marvel, and more specifically, the Fox area, who I think is, I don't know what Disney has done with the Fox side or I don't know what Disney has done with the Fox side of the Wolverine. I don't know if they brought those people over or if they let them go, you know what I mean? But I know at least his brother probably still has ties in with the X-Men stuff, so
I would imagine nothing is off the table with that. Like the way that Marvel is mixing in characters from other franchise, like the Sony franchises, and even like WandaVision, they brought in the different Quicksilvers and stuff. So, I mean, they're bringing in whoever, they don't care. So
and once
I
again,
mean,
that stuff I was bringing up is all rumors. Like that is not set in stone. I don't believe anything's been signed. They just said he was in talks, which means anything could happen from there.
yeah. Well, either way, I just put on the record, I don't want this guy to be Wolverine. But anyways, where were we at as far as the Halo thing? I'm trying to think what else I specifically don't like about where they're going with this.
I just wanted to bring up that I dislike how like villainesque the UNSC is in this so far. Like the UNSC is like really bad.
Well, okay, so I mean they're definitely playing into that. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I guess it
once
could
again,
just be political stuff. But
I'm not the biggest Halo lore buff guy, but I feel like that's somewhat accurate. Like the
Halsey's
UNSC
that way, but is the entirety of UNSC?
I think, well, it depends. Here's the thing with a lot of these, military focused kind of, stories, it's perspective based, right? Like, depending what side of the conflict you're on, it's going to villainize the other side of it. So I believe the whole rebellion aspect of what they're kind of showing in this show is not unique to the show. I'm pretty sure that was points inside the book. Like, there were these rebellions and whatnot. And I think some of the stuff that the UNSC did was kind of messed up because once again it's like military authoritative kind of control they were trying to push on these rebellious colonies. And I could be wrong. Once again, if you've read more Halo books than me, you can certainly add your input here, and I could be off base, but I don't mind that. I think the UNSC doesn't really come across as feeling like a heroic entity until they have to, because they have to fight against the Covenant. So maybe that's the perspective change they're taking. I don't mind that. I don't mind Halsey even feeling a little more evil, if you will. Like, I don't think she was necessarily like that in the games and books, but I don't know. I don't know enough to, I think, hold a firm stance one way or the other on that. I don't really love the mommy dynamic that they're setting her up with Chief. Like,
well, what I was gonna say, since you bring that up, what I think they're doing is they're using, or I'll switch back. I think what they're doing is they're using that mommy dynamic. I think they're using that to kind of to kind of combat, or they're using that to kind of. I'm trying to think of how to say it. They're using that against the actual dynamic she has with her actual daughter in Miranda. So I think they're trying to play with like she doesn't have any liking or care for her actual daughter family, but she cares more for her like
But
fake.
does she really? Like, here's the thing: they're very much proving Halsey to be a manipulative
That's
character, and
true.
like
That's true.
what she's doing with John, she doesn't. I mean, the whole point is she doesn't care about John. I mean, she probably
He's an
has an
experiment to
somewhat,
her. Yeah.
yeah, she has an affinity towards him, but she's playing whatever side is going to push her endeavors and her interests further. Like she cares about the Cortana project going, so she's kind of playing John and Cortana against each other a little bit. And I think what I don't like about that, beyond just the fact that it's kind of a weird relationship, and it makes John definitely more emotional in that aspect. I It doesn't strengthen the Chief character to me. Like I'm trying to think how that storyline is going to play out, where I'm going to be like, Chief is a better character in the end. Like he feels weak in comparison right now, just because he's so underneath Halsey's thumb. Right? He's very
Mm-hmm.
much like, whatever you say, Halsey, I'll do that.
Shoot, even in this
And
last episode, when in episode 3 at the end, when I'm like, oh shoot, Halo and Halo. I keep saying Chief and Cortana are about to go on this mission. It's like, nope, Halsey's bringing her and her assistant on this mission. I'm like,
yeah,
oh come on. Like I would have been cool just to see Chief and Cortana go off on their own thing. Sorry, good.
no, I mean, and I agree. Like I don't know. It's weakening Chief's character, and maybe they're going to come around. It's going to be this big turn, and Chief's going to have stand up because he finds out what they did to him and kidnapped him as a kid and all this other stuff, and stands up
Stand
against
up to his
Halsey. But
mommy.
yeah, but I don't know if that's going to make me feel better about Chief's character at the end. Like I just can't see a good way for that playing out without just completely villainizing Halsey. Maybe that's the direction they're going. They're just making her straight up the bad guy at this point, which I don't think is the right interpretation. Well, at least not, once again, from my understanding of the lore. Like, yeah, she was always someone who was very focused on the project and the work. Maybe definitely took her self-interest a little too far, but I always thought there was at least a little bit of air of respect about Halsey, like in the games that I refer to. Like Chief didn't think she was like just straight up some evil mommy figure. At least that's not, once again, the perspective that the games portrayed. Unless I missed something. I mean, I could have. So I don't know. I don't feel like this is helping Chief's character much. It is humanizing him, I suppose, but it is not strengthening him back up to be the Chief and the hero that I've known throughout these games. And maybe that's not what they want. I mean, I know one of the big just trends in general nowadays is to break down and deconstruct your heroes. And you know what? I guess I get the point of that in some cases, but not for this. Like Halo, at its core, is about Master Chief. I mean, you could argue it's this
Halo's
world they
not Mass
built.
Effect where you can play both sides, the Paragon and Hero.
I
Like
kind of
Halo
feel like
is
Halo's even going Mass Effecty with this show, if that makes sense. Like the
really,
political aspect of it. Like, I
yeah.
don't know, maybe I'm reading into it a little much. Like some of the music cues even feel Mass Effecty to me. I almost feel like they wanted to make a Mass Effect
Oh,
show
that's
here.
true. There was in 3. There was a sting. It's funny you mentioned that. There was a sting I remember in a scene where it was like dun 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 dun, like very
And like
mass.
the space station they were on,
Yeah,
visiting Core, and like, and maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably just reading into stuff
and they
because
made
my
the Mass
mind.
Effect reference. No, they could be taking cues from multiple things.
Yeah, which I don't know. I just feel like there's a core of what Halo should be. Well, there's a core of what any story should be. Like no matter what the franchise or IP is, and I'm not against adaptations. Some of my favorite, movies and shows are adaptations of the source material, but
Hmm.
at their core, they stay true to what that IP or franchise is about, whether it be the character or it be the world or whatever it may be. And I feel like this show doesn't have that. They have their own story they want to tell. They
Hmm.
don't care about telling the story of Master Chief that we know. And I mean, that's fine, I guess, but that's not Halo. This is some other sci-fi show they want to go ahead and show with the Halo coat of paint on it. They've taken just about everything about Halo that you'd be like, oh, I know that thing, or oh, I recognize that thing, and they're like, okay, here it is, but let's change it. They haven't given you any one thing from the game or from the story, and just be like, here is Cortana, the way you know and love her. Nope,
Hmm.
we made Cortana a life-size person. Oh, here's Chief, the way you know him, except we're gonna rip his helmet off.
Hmm.
Like, give me something. Just throw me a bone here. I
Well,
guess is what
since
I'm
you brought
saying.
up Cortana, I'm gonna go ahead and push us into like more specific talk in episode 3 because I feel like episode 3, in my opinion, was far more entertaining than 2. And
I go the other way. I'm sorry.
really, well, I will say it has a horrible beginning. With I specifically put it on my notes. The whole scene with the children kissing, I was like, "This is how you're starting an episode." I was just like kind of.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
hmm.
I was kind
No,
of.
no, go ahead.
I
I'm
was.
just thinking out loud.
I was just kind of thrown off by that. Like, it felt uncomfortable. It was just like, why is?
It did feel uncomfortable. I will say that. Like, I think I get it, and it does make me see how this character would be so bought into the Covenant. Like, she was living on this desolate place. She had this one connection to this one, like, boy she liked or whatever, and then these human
I just felt like you didn't
authoritarian.
need that specific event happening to convey that.
I mean, honestly, I was less surprised about the event, just how brutal it was. And I get that's something this
Yeah.
show surprises me with, like the way the whole show opened up with just people getting just blasted, and then you see this kid just getting beaten. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like
It was a terrible start to that episode, I thought.
I guess here's the thing: is I don't want to see that in a Halo TV show. I don't know. Maybe I'm being soft on it. I don't know.
Well,
And Halo
what
is not a non-violent
why does the
thing.
UNSC have to be so brutal though? Like, dude, it's an entire series based on fighting human annihilation from alien races. It's like why do the
But I
humans have
don't.
to be crappy too?
Well, because I don't mind that at this point in the story, I don't mind the UNSC is painted a little villainously. Because I said that I think to a certain extent is
Well, that's
somewhat more
fine.
accurate.
I just mean though, why does
Um,
every human colony have to be like horrible?
yeah, well, granted, we've seen what two colonies,
Yeah.
so we haven't seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not trying to downplay your point. I think you're right in a certain sense. It is very bleak, and they're trying their best to paint the UNSC as just these evil monger people. But
It's a very
um,
heroic show that's supposed to show like
well, I think here's my thing is I don't mind it all being so bleak, but then I think that really kind of pushes the fact that Chief needs to be
a
such a beast,
paragon of
right?
virtue or something.
And because he is so broken down right now and so unsure of himself, it seems like who am I rooting for in this? Like, I'm not sure where Chief is going with this. Like, he's kind of weird. He's not the Chief I know. He's some other character. And everybody else in the show has either their own motives they're pursuing, or they're the Covenant who are just straight up bad in
Mm-hmm.
this. Which I wonder if they're going to paint the Covenant as more
Heroes.
favorable in the end.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. This show could do anything at this point. It's just a weird tone. I don't mind the UNSC being kind of bad, but they're going just all in on the brutality, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That definitely made me. Maybe it's because I'm a parent, just watching a kid get beat like that really kind of
Yeah,
hit
I
me the wrong
agree.
way.
I just didn't. I don't have a kid, and I was kind of like, dude, this is dumb. Why is this here? But there's
Yeah,
a couple other things that I just thought were weird. Like they had to throw in the odd, creepy scientist guy trying to kiss the Halsey clone when she's on the table, and I was like,
yeah.
why is? It's like what? Why is this here? So the guy
This
has
show's going for some shock factor,
the
man.
guy
Like I
has
know
an
you.
affinity for Halsey. I'm guessing is what they're saying, and it's just like.
Yeah, he's got some probably some other mommy issues going on
And then
here.
there's the eyeball
Um,
stab part, which that that I didn't like seeing, but at least that's like a sci-fi thing. They're trying to get across how Cortana was created, how this AI has being developed. Okay, that's fine. That was the one thing where I'm like, ill, but I get it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I thought that was a little unnecessary. I mean, maybe they're gonna do something really weird with this, scientist assistant character in the future, but it was unnecessary to me right now.
And then I guess I kind of wanted to just say about Cortana. I liked Cortana. I mean, yeah, it's weird. She's human size, but it's like I don't know. I'm okay with that. She's an AI. Maybe she can change her size and whatnot. I just at least like that the voice actor is there. That's the CGI is not great. Just, granted, I'll say I didn't. There is a bit of like what's the phrase? Was it uncanny
Candy Valley.
valley?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, she looked odd.
there is that, but it's like I'm willing to put up with not looking great if you can get the voice actor there. I think that's. I still think Steve Downes should have been brought back on, but I don't know the specifics. But yeah, I mean, so you said you weren't crazy about this Cortana.
Yeah, and so that's actually one of the reasons. Like, I want to like that it's her voice, but it's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, they offer you a part of what you want. Like, okay, oh, you want to hear Cortana's voice? Here's her voice. Let's change almost everything else about her,
It just
though.
sounds like since you think they're ruining her, you just don't even want the original voice actor just because they're
Well,
ruining it already.
it feels like a bait and switch, you
Yeah.
know? Like, just like with Chief. Like, okay, so Chief's armor looked great. Like when you first see Chief fighting on the first part of the first episode, you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay, there's Chief. That's cool.
And then
And then like
helmet off.
helmet off, voice is weird, and just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not Chief. And I feel like I'm getting the same thing. Like, oh, here's Cortana's voice. You know Cortana's voice. Yeah, watch her be all into Cortana. And then it's like, okay, but she's not going to look the same. She's not going to act the same. Now, once again, I don't know exactly how Cortana was at her initiation, like when she
Hmm.
was created. So maybe this is how she was in the book or
you can
background.
call me a dumb Halo sucker, but that's something that's just good enough. Maybe it'll keep me around to finish this season.
Mm,
I love her
yeah.
voice. Her voice is just so like
And I
so
do
cool.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the voice actress is definitely pulling from her experience in the games to give you those inflections. But I think
She's
it's even
witty,
odder.
witty as always, and super sharp. And she's like, kind of has a, she's, you
But
can.
doesn't it feel odd to hear her now talking to not the regular Master
It
Chief
does.
voice?
It does.
Like, it just, everything about it feels so off to me. Maybe it's just in my head and I can't get past it. And if so, I'm sorry, but
No, it's
it's
fine.
really hard for me. And then you add the kind of awkward CG, the life size thing. I don't know if that's what I don't like. Like I could probably get past that.
That I can
Um,
understand. Like once again, she's a AI
here's the thing.
artificial.
So, and okay, I could be very wrong on this because I'm kind of building this on my passive understanding of how Cortana came about in the games. But Cortana, I mean, I know she was one of the first AIs, but for one, she wasn't just embedded in Chief's brain. Like she was on a little disc that you plugged into the helmet.
Yes,
So that was a separate interaction. So they're definitely trying to connect them in a way that is
I
different,
think
where
it's
she
the
has a connect
same because I
control
mean
over him.
I thought Halsey was holding like a disc looking thing, but then yeah, they also showed her putting some chip in his brain. So I don't know which it is because they showed
I
Halsey
think
holding
she's
a disc.
I think it might be how like it was transferred initially, or like she's I don't know, tapped into a system. But they clearly showed him like or them injecting something. Maybe it's just a transmitter. I don't know, but I thought that was a little weird.
I did think that
Uh,
scene was super interesting though, with Halsey talking to her clone, with her clone kind of knowing everything
yeah,
about her and kind of like pressing her buttons, because her clone is her. You know what I mean? I
mhm.
did think that was
Yeah. No,
interesting.
now here's something, and this once again might just be my lacking of Halo knowledge, but the whole point is there's not just Cortana. There's other AIs like her in the lore, right? It's not just
There's
her, and the whole
multiples,
point.
yeah, I believe.
Yeah, and the whole point is that you're not supposed to have these AIs, in service for so long. They go, was it rampant
They
or whatever
go
they said?
rampant. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah,
Or
and that was it. That's
rampancy, I think.
rampancy, and that was like the whole point of where Halo went and starting like Halo 4 was Cortana going crazy, and I feel like that's not something that's been brought up or is on the table, and it's something that maybe it's because she's the first one, but I feel like I don't know. I don't know this enough from the lore, but were there other AIs or in the actual lore of the game? Sure, there have already been other AIs, and they knew about this rampancy thing, like when they created her, like, or is she just that old and is pre that? Like,
I
I don't know.
don't
I feel like it's
remember.
messed with my. Hmm?
I do think in Halo 4, like, that was something that they already knew about. Like, I do
And I guess
think,
that's my thing. Like, it acted
yeah.
like that is knowledge that they already knew about. Like, I don't remember if Cortana was the first AI like this, or if there were other AIs that already had this rampancy thing, and that should be impacting this
Or
a
maybe
little
Halsey
bit.
just doesn't care. I mean, Halsey's just, oh, well, we'll do something. Well, maybe she's just like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, you know?
Maybe
Although that
I
is a
think there's
scary
some.
thing to think about because, I mean, you can see what a rampant AI has done in those games. So,
I guess just with the way they're treating this story as it is, it makes me think it's not just something that they'll get to later. It's not something they want to include, and I think that's going to be a weird, once again, another really weird missing component of these characters. And maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit because it might be early on and they don't have that knowledge yet. But I, I'm trying to once again, I'm trying to place where this is happening in Chief's story from the games, and maybe I shouldn't be doing that, but this has got to be relatively close to the Fall of Reach, right? And if that's
Yes,
the
I would think
case, I
so.
mean, the Fall of Reach ends like once again I'm going off the game with Chief blasting off in was it was of Autumn, right? Or it was one of the ships. He blasts off at the very end.
You're gonna have better memory than me, probably.
I'm guessing. I know that was the whole point of Reach is your team at the very end loads up Chief and blasts him off. You get him off, and then that starts right into Halo 1. So I guess my point is, at the point of Halo 1, that Cortana storyline of her going rampant and whatnot, that information was already known. Like it had to been, because I think it was already kind of laid out in that game, or maybe it was Halo 2. Cortana wasn't the only AI. I mean, these were other things, like seeds are already planted at that point. So if this show is taking place just before the Fall of Reach, that should be knowledge that is known. You see what I'm saying? So like they can't go into like where Halo 1 would be and have that knowledge at this point. I don't know. And maybe I'm really just nitpicking here, but something about that just rubbed me the wrong way.
Like I said, maybe they're just flying by the seat of their pants. Who knows?
I think that's it. And maybe it rubs me wrong because that's such a core story component of where Halo has been in the past like 4 games is Cortana going crazy.
Is rampancy
going
even a
evil.
thing in this?
Well, that's why I'm asking. It doesn't. I don't know. But I feel like that's with the way they're creating Cortana and the way they're bringing her up. It's like she's the very first AI of her type.
It just feels like maybe they didn't bring it up so that if they get multiple seasons, you know, maybe they'll be like, okay, now we can bring it up, you know.
Maybe, and then it's gonna be a whole thing if they discover the rampancy, and I just don't know if I like that because the part of the whole interesting thing about Cortana is she knew it was gonna happen, and like at the end it was her being like, "Let me go, John," and like he's like, "No," it was then him. That's what humanized Chief. I think in those movies was his not movies. I'm sorry, the games was his relationship with Cortana and not wanting to give her up. And that's where the rampancy thing was kind of, you know, bittersweet in the whole process was he knew she was basically dying and going crazy. And he's like, no, I'm still going to try to save her and hold on to her. And I feel like if that seed isn't planted here in the show pretty soon, you're going to lose what I think is one of the more humanizing characteristics or things they've done with Chief's story arc throughout all the games. I don't know. It just feels like missed potential. And I would say I'll get off the topic. I'm ranting now, and I'm probably just digging down a hole I shouldn't be.
Sorry, calm down. You get off your chest. I'm here for you.
I think I'm just sad 'cause there are things I want to like about this show. I'm really trying. But every little thing they do, it just comes with a caveat or multiple caveats, and I'm just like pulled out of it every time. Like there is no one thing they have done in this show that I'm like, yep, that is Halo. Everything comes with an asterisk next to it, and that just it's bothering me.
And there was another thing I thought about it before I read online, but like there was a scene where they were talking about in episode 3 where they were talking about this plague that took over Chief's original home planet and killed all of his people. Yeah. And the very first thing I thought was, are they referring to the flood? Because they said they quarantined that entire planet. So I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's where they're going, because it feels like this showrunner or whoever the writers are just taking all these random Halo story threads and fitting them in wherever they want.
Because once you go flood, man, that's like...
Once you go flood, there's no going...
unflood.
Unflood.
I mean, the flood is like a big deal. Like, the flood is like...
And the whole point is that it was unleashed on the ring. Like, and wasn't they, like, sealed off on the ring by the Forerunners or something like that? Like,
yeah.
Or what... So, I don't know.
No, wasn't the ring created to eliminate the flood?
Yeah.
Because the ring is like a weapon.
I don't know. I just feel like they are ruining what is good Halo lore. Like, it's one thing if, like, a game doesn't come with good lore, and it's pretty much a clean slate. You can just do whatever you want to with it and tweak things, and nobody's going to care. But Halo, at its core, has pretty well thought out lore, and these showrunners just like, whatever.
I agree with you. Again, I think I brought this phrase up already, but it does kind of feel like they're flying by the seat of their pants. They're just like, all right,
this is gonna a lot of respect to the source material.
This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. You know, maybe we'll throw this in, but I guess just a couple other things real quick. I want to blast through to get through the rest of this. But one other thing that bothered me is how exactly does this blonde chick have so much knowledge on human tech and how to troubleshoot and how to use it when she spent her whole life amongst the Covenant, her whole like teenage and adult life. amongst the Covenant. She just like
Yeah, man. I don't know.
knows how to use the data pad. She knows how to like. She's like going in and redoing the wires. Like, what was her name in the Force Awakens?
Oh, Ray.
Ray. She's like knows more than Harrison Ford. She knows more
Yeah,
about
about
the
the
ship.
Falcon.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
how exactly does this chick know it? I don't know.
They could explain it away, being like, Covenant, brought wreckage from UNSC, destroyed whatever, whatever. And I don't know. I don't know how they're going to explain it away.
She's
I
like a perfect
agree.
villain right now. She knows everything about the UNC. She knows everything about Covenant. She's a blessed one. Like,
I
jeez.
mean, maybe there's more to the story. We'll find out. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about her character because it is just this is so different than the games. Like,
And all she has is
they're
a book. She has one human book talking
yeah.
about kissing. Like, what does that have to do? I don't know. That's her whole human knowledge base. I don't know. Go ahead,
Who does she
sorry.
practice the kissing with? The Covenant, the grunts. I
Her,
don't know.
her hand. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. She is just this big question mark that I don't even know if I should dislike or not like. I probably would like her as an addition
There's rumors
if
that she's
the.
Chief's sister or something.
Oh man, I hope it's not something stupid like that.
That would be terrible. I agree.
There's that like that's what I'll say. I don't mind additions and adaptations to lore. Like if there was something cool they were doing with this character, maybe I'd be like, yeah, that's all right. Granted, it's already coming from a weird spot, but because everything else is already so weird, it's just one more weird thing thrown to the show. That I'm like, well, whatever. They're clearly not making a Halo show. They're making whatever sci-fi show they want, just throwing in whatever kitchen sink is lying around. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
I just have one more thing I'll throw in that we can move on. Can we both agree that that stupid energy sword fingernail thing was by far the dumbest thing introduced to the show so far? What in the world was that? Like,
I don't know. I don't know how I
what
feel about
what
that either.
what is
She is
she,
just a. Go ahead. I'm
what I
sorry.
said? What does she do if she goes to pick her nose and it accidentally goes off? Like what?
Give herself her own lobotomy. I don't know. That didn't bother me. Like I think it bothered you, but I think at that point in the show, I was just like, whatever. I think that's kind of where I'm getting with the show now. I'm getting past the angry point. I think I was in denial. Then I was
I
angry,
mean,
and I'm
seeing
just
the chief
getting.
butt is one thing, but to me, the fingernail thing was like, what is this? Why is this here?
How do you feel about the nudity? Like, has that done anything for you? Does that make the show better or worse for
Does
you?
seeing Chief's butt do anything for me? Um, um, at least the chief butt thing. At least they made that fit with because he had to take out that chip. I mean, at least that is just
Yeah,
like.
he could have had his boxers on or
But
something
but
like
the
that. He didn't
scene,
cut that low.
but the scene with the blonde chick seeing her side boob, like that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
She just decided to change in a room. Like, I don't know. The chief one at
No,
least
I
is,
agree.
and at least that was mildly interesting because Cortana shows up and it's like, oh, is Cortana. Is she trying to take a peek? What's going on here? You know what I mean?
I didn't go that direction, but no, I am not for it. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the show has very clearly shown that they want to go for the shocking moments, so I'm not surprised they went that route, but it doesn't add anything to me. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I just wanted to rag on the fingernail thing. It was just to me beyond stupid, and I felt dumber for having seen that. I don't know.
Did you like the hunter scene?
I actually didn't realize it, but I didn't realize that the hunters were made of worms. I don't know why I never clicked with me. Like, I had to look it up. I'm like, where are these worms coming from? And then
Yeah.
it showed a picture and like, yeah, the hunters' bodies are actually worms. I was like, what?
It's actually, I mean, I knew that, but I never really thought about it. I'm more surprised you actually don't see more like hunter worm,
In the games?
gameplay. Yeah, because like that'd be kind of weird. I mean, I guess because the flood kind of served maybe that point a little
It was
bit.
cool. I liked the little like horror. It was almost like a mild horror scene edition. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool in a game if you're about to go to a hunter and then just like kind of like it dispersed across the room and you had to like take it down. It'd be neat.
I just
So
never
I think
noticed
that
that.
was one of the cooler moments. But
But yeah, so once again, I'm mildly interested to keep going on. I will, whether Phoenix is able to continue on with the episodes or not. If he Phoenix keeps watching the episodes, we'll keep talking about the episodes. But
I feel like I have to now. I've invested too much of my time to back
hey,
out.
once again, that highlight
Up episode 1.
that highlight video for episode 1 is one of my best performing videos. So
Woo woo.
yeah.
I don't know. Like I really am not optimistic that this show is ever gonna win me back. Like I don't know what it could even do at this point to like turn favorably in my opinion. But I've invested this much time. I'm sure the show's not gonna be that long. It's probably gonna be less than 10 episodes, I would imagine. So I'll stick it out.